Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to your masterclass on the which way to manifest. Thank you so much for being here. Just to start off with, I want to get really clear on what manifestation is and just take it back to basics a little bit for you. So you may be really familiar with manifestation. You may have been working with the law of attraction for a while, or it could be something that is totally new to you and you have no idea what I am talking about. So I just want to make sure you have kind of got the basics and that sort of introductory understanding of what we are talking about. So when we talk about manifesting, we are talking about creating, we are talking about altering our lives and our reality. Okay, so everything that you see around you right now, every situation, every circumstance in your life, you have manifested, you have attracted that to you. You have created your life as it is right now. Now, that can be a great feeling if you're happy with how things are looking, or you can feel a bit like, oh, shit, really? Am I responsible for this? And it's okay, because I'm going to talk you through how you can change things if you're not so happy with how things look right now. And that is the power of manifestation is you are co-creating. You're in the driver's seat for this, okay? The universe is your co-pilot, or God or Buddha or whoever you want as your co-pilot, okay? Whatever you refer to them as. So you have creative control. You have artistic license to create the life that you wish. Okay. So there is something quite scientific that I think is really key to understand when it comes to manifestation. And this can really help, especially if you are feeling like you don't really like the responsibility of what is happening in your life right now. So if you imagine your brain, and you imagine your brain has two different components to it. Now, I am describing it this way for simplicity, but depending on how much research you do into this, there is actually a belief that part of this doesn't actually sit within your physical body. But for the sake of this, I just want you to imagine your mind split in two almost, okay? So you have your conscious mind. That part of your mind is here with me now. You are listening to these words. You are in this present moment. You are listening to this masterclass. Okay. Your conscious mind is in control of that. The other part of your mind is your subconscious or your unconscious. Now, this part of your mind is considerably bigger. And this is why a lot of people think that actually it sits outside of our physical beings, but don't worry about that too much for now. So your subconscious or your unconscious is exactly what it says on the tin. It is unconscious. Okay, but it is working 1,000,000 times quicker and more efficiently than what your conscious mind is. So your unconscious right now is controlling your breathing. Okay, we're not consciously thinking, I have to inhale, exhale, exhale. Our unconscious is doing that for us. It is making sure our heart is beating. It is making sure you're digesting. It is what controls when you walk. So you're not consciously thinking every time you walk how to put one foot in front of the other. Your unconscious mind does it for you. And your unconscious mind is incredibly powerful, and it actually controls 95% of your life. Your conscious mind is having a lovely, relaxing time. It's only taking control of 5%. So when we look at it like that, we think, well, why do we not use more of our unconscious mind then? Because that's more powerful and it's bigger and it can do more, and it is doing more, whether we like it or not. So this is really important for manifestation, because so far you may only be working with that conscious mind. And this is maybe why you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not particularly happy with my job or my relationships or my bank balance. And you're thinking, well, I'm not in control of that because I'd love that to be better. And your conscious mind absolutely would. Whenever we want to make changes, whenever we want to improve our lives, whenever we want to work towards a new goal or accomplish something new, our conscious mind is the logical side. It's like, well, of course, like who wouldn't want that? You know, who wouldn't want to be richer or healthier or loved? Of course. So this is quite often where people go, well, why is manifesting not working then? Because of course I want it. This makes no sense. And it comes down to that unconscious mind. That is your juicy, wonderful, powerful vortex that you really want to tap into. Okay. That is where the magic is going to happen. Now, the even more scary part of this is your unconscious mind is typically developed and stores everything from when you are born up until around being 7 years old. And after that point, we don't necessarily add an awful lot more into it. Sometimes we do. So say, for example, you know, if ever you've driven somewhere and you feel like you've got there on autopilot and you're like, how did I end up here? Your unconscious mind has kind of kicked in and, you know, reminded you how to drive. Not that that is a great thing to do. We want to be in the present moment, but you might relate to that. But typically everything in our unconscious is what we have learned and what we are storing from being 0 to 7 years old. And what this means, quite terrifyingly, is the 7-year-old version of us is controlling 95% of your life, which I don't really remember much about being 7 years old, but I don't really like the idea of any 7-year-old being the one that's in charge. I'm like, no, I want the adult version of me to be in charge of the decisions and what we're doing and what's happening. But that is typically what is going on in your unconscious mind. So 7-year-old you is running the show. So if you don't like particularly what is going on in your life right now, we want to start to tap in to that 7-year-old you. We want to start to connect more to your unconscious mind and reprogram or reintroduce things that are going to serve you better and help support you with what it is you want to manifest. I hope that makes sense and it's not too sciencey. I just want you to have that kind of background knowledge as to how this works from a neurological sense. Okay. Now, if you're familiar with my work, if you have done any of my programs, you will know I have a very specific 10-step process to manifestation. I have a book that is coming out that is all about this as well. And in there, I will mention certain tools and almost therapeutic interventions that can help you connect more to that unconscious mind. And some of my favorites are RRT and EFT, so different therapies that can help connect you to that 7-year-old version of you. And it's a little bit different to inner child work because it is using your unconscious mind rather than just focusing on our inner child and working with them. It's going a little bit deeper. It's going further into the quantum and your unconscious, which again, quite sciencey. So I don't want to go too deep into that. But therapies like that, interventions like that, healing modalities that you will come across, especially if you follow the work that I do, are fantastic for helping reprogram and rewrite what your unconscious mind is working towards. Okay. The reason that we want to do that is because firstly, a 7-year-old should not really be running the show for us, but also if you have experienced things in your life during that time from 0 to 7 that has formed your belief system, that can be getting in the way of what you want to attract. So for me, if I use myself as an example, during that time, I saw my parents divorce. I saw my mum live on her own and struggle to find a stable relationship. And I was primarily raised by my nan, who was also a widow. So during that part of my life, I learned that men were not reliable and men were typically absent, and that women had to be independent and fend for themselves. And also that we had to be careful with money because it was only coming from one source. So all of these beliefs will compound and form part of my unconscious. So I had to do my own reprogramming of that to allow myself to have a longer lasting relationship and even to open myself up to having a relationship, because I had huge issues with trusting men and also letting go of my independence, because that was what my unconscious, which by the way, your unconscious wants to keep you safe. Your unconscious is also where you will have your survival response. It's where if you're under threat, you will either go into fight, flight, or freeze mode based on what you learned, typically from 0 to 7. So for me, I had learned that men weren't to be trusted and it was only ever going to be temporary, that they would eventually leave. So it's no coincidence that that was the reality I experienced up until being 33 years of age, because that's when I did the reprogramming. So this is why it's important to know this. So if you're thinking, well, my conscious mind, my logical part of me wants to make more money, but if in your subconscious you've been shouted at for spending money as a child, or perhaps you took money out of your piggy bank or from your mother's purse and you didn't think anything of it, but you were punished for that, then you could be holding on to that story that money brings punishment. And so your conscious mind will do everything it can to keep you away from that. So this is why it's important to know what's going on in that bigger part of your mind. Okay. So on that note, we'll go with the sciencey kind of line of thought just to wrap this up. The other thing to mention with our mindset, and something that is often a misconception when it comes to manifesting, and you may have come across this before, you may have come across like slogans almost of like good vibes only and high vibe. And if you have come across this work before and the law of attraction, you may have felt like you always have to be in a happy and joyful place, that you have to be positive all of the time, that you have to be that high vibe. And this stems from the quantum side of manifesting. And all of this is backed by science because it is quantum physics at play. Okay, so everything around us is energy. And all this energy vibrates at a certain frequency. So all those lovely things that you want to attract into your life will be vibrating at a certain frequency as well. So this is where the misconception comes in. Now, it is true and correct that if you are vibrating lower, if you're not feeling great, you're not feeling yourself, you're vibrating down here, but what you desire is vibrating up here, then it's not really aligned. It's kind of a mismatch. If you imagine it like a radio station, if you're on the lower tune, lower frequency, then a higher frequency isn't going to find you. Okay, it's not a match. So there is truth in that. But most importantly, it comes down to working with those emotions that are putting you at that lower vibration. Because those emotions are what's going to be directing you to make the changes. Your emotions are your energy in motion. They are what's going to be the catalyst for you to make changes. And I just want to reassure you that even if you aren't in a great place, you can still manifest good things. If you have done that subconscious, that unconscious work alongside all of this. That is the most important thing. The most important thing is working with that unconscious and decluttering. That's step 2 of my manifestation process, is decluttering, not just physically around your space, but also mentally. And that includes your unconscious mind. So if you have done that part, at least in some way, shape, or form, or you've started to do that, that is what will actually shift your vibration. The feelings that you feel day to day, they are what make you human. We can't turn those off, nor should we, because they are what is going to actually help you take aligned action to stay on the path towards what it is you want to manifest. So I just want to reassure you that if you're not feeling high vibe and positive all the time, it's okay. You can still manifest when feeling shoddy. I've done it. I created this business and manifested my first beautiful soul clients during a pandemic. I had been made redundant. There was fuck all in my bank account, and I was not in a good place. I spent most afternoons crying in the garden over a glass of Prosecco, which sounds really luxurious, but I was in a very, very dark place. How creepy is that the door's just opened? It's only a cat, don't worry. Which one is it? It's Mildred. So I was in a bad place. I was living on my own at the time as well. And yeah, I was not high vibe at all, but I still manifested this beautiful business and my soul clients. So you can do it. It's okay. Okay. What we really want to focus on is the possibilities. Okay, rather than worrying too much about your vibe, that is important. And one of the steps in my process is to replicate the feelings of how you will feel when you have the thing that you want, because that will help you, that will lift you. But what is most powerful about that is using the vibration to help you collapse time. Because when we collapse time, we are working with the quantum energy and you are working with possibilities. And this can feel very, very out there and like, oh gosh, what is she talking about? What has she been on? And this is why I have entire programs. I work with my clients on this for months. So please don't feel like you have to know everything about this within just one short masterclass. It's okay. But what we mean by collapsing time is aligning with that version of us that we want to become. And this will form part of your daily actions. It will form part of your habits, but it's really about bridging that gap. So if you're over here in one vibration, this is where you are at your present time. And over here is the version of you that you want to be. Perhaps this version is the version of you that is in a committed, happy, loving, loyal relationship. Okay, she's over here. The way we align these energies and we bring them closer together so that they meet quicker and collapse that time is by working on what it is that future version of you had to do in order to get there. What did she have to heal? What did she have to release? And what does she have to believe in order to get to that point? So a lot of this work forms part of the curriculum that I have with my clients because it is a process, but you can start to think about it now. If you think about that future version of you, how did she get there? And you can use role models for this as well. This is another part of my process, is to look for expanders and role models. Look for those people that have what you want, because they show you that it's possible. They remind you that it's possible, because if someone else can have it, so can you. But also, how did they get there? What do they believe? What are their behaviors? What are their actions? What do they not believe? And you therefore collapse that time, you collapse that energy field between you and bring yourselves closer to one another. You get on that frequency easier that way than trying to force your emotions to get on that frequency. So you can absolutely use both. And if you are someone who is very fortunate in that you are quite high vibe and quite positive all the time, then fantastic, because you can use that instead, or both, whichever you prefer. But this is just another way, and a way that us witchy folk like to use, because we love working with the elements. We love working with the universe. We work with the quantum fields. We work a lot within the matrix. We work a lot in our unconscious. We spend a lot of time in our unconscious mind, because we know the power of it. And we know how this can rapidly speed up your manifestations. Now, just to follow on from that, and how witches do manifest differently, and if you are not really sure what I'm talking about when I talk about being a witch, then please do check out my other masterclass on being a witch. But the witch way of manifesting, there are several components to this, and this is all in my beautiful book, The Witch Way to Manifest. But first and foremost, we always work with an intention. Now, this is stronger than just having a wish or a goal, because an intention has more dedication to it. And when we have an intention, we really, really consider the reason why we want that intention. What is the purpose of that intention, and how are we going to follow through with it? Okay. And of course, as witches and as very spiritual, divine women, we are fully aligned with our intuition, and we trust our intuition as well, which does take time, but you are more than capable of trusting your intuition and channeling what it is that you desire, or channeling that clarity and that guidance from your spirit guides, from your celestial team and your loved ones, to help support you. And witches are really open to doing that, which is one of the lovely things my clients get to experience by working with me, is that I can do that on their behalf if they're not at that point themselves yet. So we trust our intuition. We trust that whatever we desire is destined for us, because if we desire it, then it already exists in a different quantum field. Okay, the very fact that your mind conjures up that image, it is already destined for you. Okay, so we trust in that. Mildred is trying to eat sage right now. Let's not do that. You say hi. Hi from Mildred. She's a little bit more camera shy than what Salem is, but she might sit with us for a little while. So we trust in that visualization. We trust that our desires are destined for us. And we also harness a lot of different elements, a lot of different correspondences to support us in our manifesting. Now, I've already mentioned that the most important part is working with your unconscious mind. Okay. Working with that decluttering, working with the darker side of you, working with your shadow self, working with your dark feminine, and rewiring and weeding out any of those beliefs and teachings that actually are inhibiting your growth and preventing your manifestations from coming through. So that is the most integral part. But all of the other things that witches do are enhancers. They really boost your manifestation work. So working with the elements and harnessing that. So if we want something to happen quicker, we might incorporate the element of fire. If we want to heal and cleanse quicker, then we will incorporate water into our practices. If we need clarity, we will turn to air to bring that clarity and usher that clearance through for us. We also work with different timings. So whether it's working with the lunar cycle, whether it's working with our Sabbats and solstice or equinox timing, or the days of the week to enhance our practices as well, but always in line with our own feminine cycle or our own energy cycle is really integral. So you're not kind of going against the grain and finding it challenging to create when you're actually in a time where you should be more in reflective mode, for example. Okay, we're very in tune with our energies and when is best for us to do certain practices. And of course, spell work, rituals, different tools, so different psychological tools, different manifestation tools like your vision boards, your pillow method, your 2 cups method, the 369. All of these things are fantastic and they're great fun as well, and they can absolutely enhance things. But the thing that I really hope you take away from this masterclass is working with that unconscious and being open to working with that unconscious as well, which is the core of the witch's way of being. We're not as afraid of that side of us. We're not as afraid of the unknown because we know that we are always supported. We trust in the divine. We trust in uncovering all aspects of ourselves, even the darker sides of ourselves, even our past traumas, even our ancestors' traumas. We are more comfortable in exploring that, even though the process itself might be very uncomfortable and it might be very triggering. It might be bring up upset, it might bring up other emotions that aren't particularly pleasant. But we are comfortable in doing that because we know the benefit. We know that the power comes out of the darkness. Okay, being in the dark is fantastic because it allows that introspection. It allows us to figure out, okay, what's not serving us here and where has this come from? Most importantly, where has this come from? You know, when I do my re-imprinting therapy work, we go into that matrix, we go and find our echo self, we go and find our earliest memory that we can of where something started, where a certain belief started, or where we started telling ourselves a particular story that now as an adult is not serving us because we're trying to achieve something different. We will go back to that place and we will work through it. And we will add all our tools, all our protection, all the different elements that we need to support us in doing that, all that universal energy we really connect into so we feel fully supported and fully held as well, whether you believe in God, the divine, the universe, the goddess, whoever, just feeling that support and that safety net, that it is okay to step into that darkness. It is okay to tap into your unconscious. You are safe to do so because that is where your magic is really going to stem from. And then when you're working with your other tools, when you're working with your other techniques and strategies, and you're doing all your aligned action, you're taking the steps in your human, practical mind and body, it all falls into place because you've done that background work. You've done that deeper level work. So I think that is probably a fair amount of things to gift to you right now. And I hope it does bring some explanation to you as to how manifesting works and how you can enhance it, and also how you can start to work with manifestation in a different way. So working with it the witch's way, which is a very in-depth process, which is why I have a book on it, which is why I have programs about this. And it's not a one masterclass kind of job, but I hope this has given you that insight. And if you do want to go deeper with this, if you want to learn more about this, then first off, you can jump into my free Facebook group, which is just Facebook groups /Vix Marie. There are tons of resources and trainings in there. And of course, you can post questions to me as well. But if you do want to explore this, if you want to go on a journey where you you awaken this part of yourself, if you want to go through that healing and actually work with your unconscious, then you can jump into my program for either 3, 6, or 9 months, depending on where you are on your journey at the moment. Or you can, of course, come and sample a retreat as well, where we do a lot of womb healing and we start to clear out that space, so you realign your energies and have a different cleansing experience, which in part is in your unconscious, but we're primarily working with your physical womb and your physical body in that case. But depends where you are on your path and where you are on your journey right now. But if you have any questions or you need guidance on what is the next best step for you, then please do reach out to me. My inbox is open for you. You can send me a message at any time, and either myself or my team will get back to you and help guide you where you want to be next. But I hope this has given you some enlightenment. Keep your eye out for my book coming out soon as well, The Which Way to Manifest, and the gorgeous Oracle deck to go with it. That will certainly support you on this journey as well. But I hope you have enjoyed this, and I will see you very soon. Much love. Mwah.